After spending 10 days at sea sailing across the South Atlantic Ocean from Africa, we are eagerly anticipating our arrival at the remote island of St Helena. But actually getting ashore on the island was more difficult than we expected. We are Matanami. We have spent the last 6 years sailing our 37-foot sailboat Florence around the world. In that time we have crossed 3 oceans. Over 36,000 miles have passed under our keel, and we are now closing in on our goal, to complete our circumnavigation.
Before us lies the Atlantic Ocean, which we will now cross twice in order to reach the shores of England once more.
Fish scales all across the deck. Evidence that a flying fish has bounced across, and hopefully, because we can't smell it, gone off the other side somewhere. We did have a flying fish that made it in through here once. It took us about 2 months to work out where the smell was coming from, and we had to dismantle the whole thing to get it out.
Crossing the South Atlantic Ocean from Africa to the Caribbean, we are following in the wake of cargo ships from the days of sail. Those sailing ships of old would use these steady, predictable winds to speed their transit across the ocean as they traded their goods around the world. That is why these are called the trade winds.
For those ships, it was important to have places where they could pause, make repairs and reprovision en route. So the island of St Helena, which sits over 1,200 miles out into the ocean in the middle of those trading routes, was an important strategic asset.
Just like those old sailing ships, we also plan to take advantage of St Helena's strategic location to pause and recover on our 3,500-mile passage across this ocean. But first, we have to get there. By this point on our passage, we have settled into our watchkeeping routine, going about our lives on board as Florence sails on, relentlessly, mile after mile across the ocean waves.
So we caught a dorado, or mahi-mahi. This is probably the smallest fish we've caught in quite a long time, but given we haven't caught any fish so far on this trip, it's big enough for a couple of meals, so we'll keep this one. In fact, the biggest one of these that we caught was in the North Atlantic on our first ocean crossing, and that was 1.5 metres long. It's like the length of the cockpit, so they do get quite big, but that was way too much for 2 people to eat. This is a much better size for us. But now to deal with it, to fillet it, I've got to hang off the back of the boat so that the blood and guts don't go everywhere. I have to tie the fish on because otherwise it's liable to go over the side. It's quite difficult in these conditions. It's a beautiful morning this morning. We've got a rainbow over on our port side here. Bit of blue sky, which we haven't seen for days. It's just been grey. But quite a lot of raining clouds around us, so that's probably going to mean a bit of action with sail changes as we reduce sail. The rain brings more wind through the day. But today we should sight St Helena for the first time, and it's going to be quite exciting to arrive at a tiny little island 1,200 miles out into the ocean. This was a regular stopping point for all the old trading ships back in the day when everything was done by sail, and we've got GPS to find it, but to be able to navigate out and find this tiny island in the middle of the ocean just using the old school sextant navigation would have been pretty amazing, really. We'd really like to arrive in daylight, and actually we've been pushing for the last 3 days to keep Florence's speed up, and I think we're going to achieve arriving in daylight, probably between 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But unfortunately I think we're going to be just too late to get customs and immigration to come. Well, the first thing they have to do is drop off a COVID test to us, which we then do, and then 24 hours later they do another one, and if we pass both of those, then we're allowed on shore. But today's a Thursday, so if we don't get the first one today, the first one then comes on a Friday. I'm not sure if they work on Saturday, so we might be having to stay on board until next week, which would be a little bit annoying, but just one of those things. But I'm very excited to see the mountainous island loom up out of the sea in front of us.
Just making us some fish wraps with the mahi-mahi that we caught yesterday. The sea state's a lot better today, but it's still getting thrown around a little bit. Having to catch things in the galley. Hopefully this will be the last meal that we have to make being thrown around. Should be a little bit easier at anchor.
So this is the fish we caught yesterday afternoon. Mahi mahi. That was really good. I've been looking forward to that fish all trip.
We have just arrived into British waters.
Getting chased in by a rain squall. I just had a nice shower, a bucket wash on deck, got changed into a clean t-shirt and shorts, and it was sunny and everything was good, and we got a beautiful new island to explore on the horizon, and I can't see the island anymore because it's shrouded in grizzly grey rain. And yeah, we put the tent on to protect us from this rain as we get chased in. But at least it's speeding us up a bit, giving us a bit more wind to get there quicker. Ugh. About 12 miles off, and the island is just starting to appear out of the rain clouds that we've had all morning. We've got occasional glimpses of it, but it's just starting to reveal itself fully now.
Landfall on a mountainous island. It's just so dramatic, especially after what we had, like 11 days
10
of just
days.
10 days of a flat horizon. Love it. Can't even see the top.
That's because it's still in rain cloud. That's because it's British.
Yeah, but it's just like sheer, it looks like sheer vertical cliffs. Can't even see the top of the island. Stunning. St Helena port control, St Helena port control. Sailing Yacht Florence, channel 14, over. Oh, just radioing port control, and I've just heard the fishing line go off. I think I'll radio them in a second. Sounds like Matt's got that.
Fish on! Ah, oh.
Hey.
What's that?
Oh, it's the bonito, I think. Skipjack tuna.
Here in St Helena, the anchorage is very deep, and the bottom is not good holding for anchors. So they have set up a mooring field for visiting yachts to use. The mooring costs £2 per day, and there is a ferry service to take us ashore, as the swell often makes it dangerous for small dinghies to land.
We've tied to the mooring as normal at the bow, but because of the swell in the anchorage, we need to do better than that.
So we've been advised that it's best to tie between two moorings here because it holds the bow into the swell and stops you rolling quite so much. But we don't really want to launch a dinghy because we're not going to use that to go ashore. So the next best method to get the rope across to that is to jump in and swim, and no one's allowed to help us until we are checked in, had our COVID checks and quarantine. So no one's even allowed to take a rope to the buoy for us. Even our friends in the anchorage can't do that. So I'm going to find out how warm it is.
Oh! Your dives need a bit more practice again.
It's a bit chilly, but it's not too bad.
You splashed me.
Well, it was a refreshing swim. Got it connected and just pull our stern round so that we got bow into the waves.
It was deceptively far away. I had to drop the camera and attach about 3 or 4 more lines so that we could actually reach the buoy. Oh, we should actually get a good night's sleep tonight. Well done, Matt.
So here we are in St Helena. It took us 10 days to get here. It was 1,250 miles. It's great to be here. We're on a mooring in the shelter of the island. We arrived on Thursday afternoon. Unfortunately though, 4 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon was too late for them to come out and drop off the COVID test pack for us. Now we have to do 2 COVID tests 24 hours apart before we're allowed ashore. So they came and dropped that off at 9:30 this morning, and they said they might get House to come visit us this afternoon, but if not, because they don't work on a Saturday, we're going to have to wait on board until Monday. So it took us 10 days to get here, but because the weather in Namibia was so bad before we set off, we actually had to check out 2 days before that because we couldn't get ashore between that. So we've been on board the boat for 12 days by the time we arrived here. Now's another day, so that's 13 days. By tomorrow we'll have been completely quarantined from anybody else for 14 days. At sea or sitting around on a boat at anchor or on a mooring. So we're pretty safe, but those are the rules here. What you up to, Amy?
I've just been pulling off all of the footage from the passage from our four cameras and backing all of that up, and I'm starting editing all of the passage footage. Definitely got a few days work just here, so got plenty to keep us busy.
I'm making use of the time to do some maintenance. When we were in Namibia, we had so much sand come on board when the wind was blowing off the desert that we were worried about it getting into everything and stopping everything working, but thankfully everything worked on the passage here. A few things weren't as smooth as they could have been, and one of them was this particular winch on the mast, so I'm just taking it apart and re-greasing it, and I'll put it back together. It all seems to work. You're supposed to do these once a year. I'll admit I don't get round to them once a year because there's 9 of them on board, but I think a few more of them might get done over the next few days.
By Monday morning, Florence was in good condition and we were raring to set foot on land. The health officials came out at 10 a.m. to watch us perform our second COVID test, and then all we had to do was wait a few more hours for it to be officially processed ashore.
Next time, we finally set foot ashore to explore this remote, isolated British outpost.
Don't forget to subscribe to catch the next episode. We release a video every 2 weeks.
If you'd like to find out more about behind the scenes on Florence, track our progress across the oceans in real time, find out where we are right now, or ask us pretty much anything, then please head over to our Patreon site and join the crew.
We'd like to thank everyone who supports us to make these videos possible, and a special thank you to our star patrons.